So a little bit about me, innovative digital content, that's my background, a lot of digital video experience. And now we're going to be talking about the metaverse. So today we'll be talking about what it is, why does it matter, when will it arrive, how does it work, and who should enter. All right. So what is the metaverse? So for me, when I think about this question, to me, it certainly comes off as very, I would say, confusing because we're so early in figuring out what the metaverse is, and we're in such early stages. And so to me, when we talk about the metaverse now, it's like, to me, the equivalent of talking about what is the internet in the mid-90s. So in the time of AOL dial-up, there's this famous Today Show, clip where they're asking, hey, can you explain what the internet is? And again, it's so hard at that time to say, oh yeah, it's going to be Uber and it's going to be Netflix and it's going to be the creator economy. Like, that's so hard to imagine so far ago in the very beginning. And so I like to say, hey, just as we're talking about this, it is confusing. We're so early. And so in addition to that, I think what also happens is often you have lots of people talking about the metaverse. And when they're talking about the metaverse, they're talking about things like virtual reality. They assume, oh, metaverse is virtual reality, or they're assuming it's like NFTs or Web3. And to me, these are technologies that can be parts of creating the metaverse, but they aren't necessarily the exact same thing. And so when I think about what is the metaverse, I like to come at it from a couple sort of different places. Number one is this idea that technology keeps evolving. So technology will continue to evolve in the future. It has evolved for decades, and it's not exactly clear what comes next. We know that, again, these technology pieces like Web3, like virtual reality, like AR, those can be part of creating the metaverse. But again, we're so early that like exactly how that looks like is still to be figured out. So in addition to the technology standpoint, there's also the content standpoint. So content also keeps evolving. And so it used to be, hey, I just sit back on my couch and I watch TV. And content, with the advent of social, with the advent of mobile, really evolved to, hey, I'm leaning into the experience. I'm now posting photos. I'm now posting videos. I'm now commenting on my friends' posts, on influencers' posts, etc. And then this next evolution is really about being in the experience. It's really about going that further step into the content, into that interactivity. And that is such a huge shift. That really is all about, instead of being on the outside looking in at the experience, you are now suddenly, like, as a viewer, as a user, you are in the center of the action, and you're being able to dictate where you go and really surround yourself with what you care about, your passions, the stories you care about. So to me, the kind of key components of what the metaverse is number one, avatar identities. You can be whoever, whatever you want to be in the metaverse, and you're engaging in 3D virtual worlds. And then you're also engaging in real-time interactions, whether you're playing games, whether you're learning something, whether you're shopping, whether you're watching some content, but doing so in these spaces in real time. So why does the metaverse matter? So my 6-year-old son accidentally put this emoji up on the slide while I had this slide up, and I kept it there because it seemed absolutely perfect for just like this whole situation. Why are we even talking about this? So it comes down to certainly market size. So you have McKinsey saying, hey, by 2030, we believe it's going to be a $5 trillion market. Citi is saying by 2030, we think it's going to be a $13 trillion market. Now, in both of these cases, both of these companies are saying, hey, we see this as the next iteration of the internet. And to me, what that signals is really that, like, metaverse as a term is really just a buzzword that is going to go away in the future. In the future, people will just be like, oh, this is the internet. This is just how you use the internet. You're engaging in these new ways. I am, instead of shopping through a website or through a mobile app, it's like, oh, I'm shopping through Roblox or some other sort of 3D virtual world. So one, market size is super huge. And then, because of that, you have all these big companies that are saying, hey, we want to be part of this. We believe in this future and we want to capture that market share. So whether it's Facebook rebranding to Meta, whether you have Microsoft going and acquiring Activision Blizzard, Epic Games raising $2 billion to build their version of the metaverse. In these situations, and these companies are saying, hey, our profits have plateaued. What is going to really get us to a whole new wave of profitability? So really coming at it from that angle. And then certainly for businesses, businesses follow, sponsors and advertising, it follows eyeballs where attention is. And so, Inc. put this out saying, hey, the metaverse will be the most powerful marketing channel for the brands of tomorrow. And as you have scale, as you have audience, and certainly advertisers, sponsors will follow. And I think that, Nike has been an example of a company that has always been very innovative, on the forefront of really testing out new platforms to be able to connect with users. And so for me, they launched a website very early at a time when people were probably saying, why would you create a website? What's the point of that? That doesn't make any sense. Same thing, getting early onto Facebook, and then also on Roblox, which they launched on last year. So, all right, we've talked about what it is. We've talked about why it matters, especially to businesses. But to me, it's like, hey, does anybody actually care? Do consumers care? And the answer to me really is around, it depends on how old you are. It depends your age. And so, early technology adoption is typically from, the younger generation. So Gen Z, Gen Alpha, these are the earliest tech adopters. And we're very much seeing that in this case with the metaverse, where 9 out of 10 members of Gen Z have visited a metaverse-like environment. And then on top of that, I think Roblox is a really good example of where we've seen just the level of engagement that's happening, where you're having time shifting to these types of platforms. So on Roblox, the average user is spending about 78 hours per month, which is more than the average usage of YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Netflix combined. So again, these tend to be sort of younger, younger people. We're talking about kids anywhere from 8 to 13, 14 years old, right, in that sort of demo. And what's happening is certainly that not only are they spending time there, but they're spending time with their friends on these platforms. So socialization, community has really shifted into these areas, which certainly was accelerated by the pandemic, by quarantine, by there being limited options to hang out in real life. But to me, it's just really astounding. 48% of 8 to 11-year-olds and 57% of 12 to 15-year-olds are talking to their friends while they're playing online. So they're spending more time, they're hanging out with their friends. There's also this other dynamic where users are feeling that they're able to really express themselves in a different way, in a more powerful way in these virtual worlds than they can in real life. So you have half saying, hey, I feel more comfortable expressing myself in digital games and environments, and I feel more like the real me. And I've seen this certainly firsthand with my kids. This is my daughter, Jane, who's 10. She plays Roblox all the time, and she's incredibly hard to reach through traditional sort of channels, even traditional digital channels. So she doesn't have a social media account. She doesn't browse the web. In fact, she's showing me how to, navigate Roblox worlds and how to get coins and things like that, much more than I can understand on my own. I think she understands how to navigate these worlds more than she does a website. And she doesn't watch a ton of TV with ads and things like that. So for a certain type of business out there, if you're trying to reach younger consumers, these types of platforms are one of the only ways to reach them, especially in such a fragmented ecosystem. And then lastly, on this point, sort of in terms of do consumers care? The global box office, music sales, and global ticket sales combined is less than the sale of gaming virtual goods. And so the gaming virtual goods includes extra lives, clothing for your avatars, weapons, power-ups, things like that. And so to me, this is also just another huge shift in consumer behavior and it's really around spending. So it's not like, oh, this is going to be big someday. There's a bunch of people here. It's like, oh, wait a minute. There's a bunch of people here. They're spending a lot of time and they're spending a lot of money. And this was a super famous example from Roblox where this Gucci bag sold for $4,000, the equivalent of $4,000 on Roblox, where if you were to buy the actual physical version of this bag, it would have cost you $3,400. And it's like, that shouldn't happen. Like, this is not an NFT. This is not a blockchain-based asset. But again, I think it really speaks to a huge shift in consumer behavior and what especially young consumers are valuing, and them being able to represent themselves in these digital spaces, which in some cases, right, matters more about like how I look when I play online than I do in real life. All right, so when will the metaverse be here? So in many ways, like, we're far off from the sort of world of Ready Player One and a full-on metaverse, but in other ways, we have like the very basic building blocks already in place. So we have platforms, Roblox, Fortnite, Decentraland, Sandbox, Horizon Worlds. On these platforms, you can create avatars. Those avatars can, have assets, whether that's apparel, whether that's weapons. You can go to different places in these platforms and attend events. One of the most sort of profound and sort of watershed moments of this movement was this Travis Scott concert, which was on Fortnite. It reached 27.7 million unique users, which is more than the ratings of, the top rated program in America, NFL Sunday Night, and generated over 20 million in revenue. So that includes sales of virtual items as well as physical merchandise. And I think this was just a big sort of, wake up moment to the industry saying, wow, there's a real opportunity here to reach scaled audience and drive real revenue. So how are brands entering the metaverse? Certainly there's a number of brands that have already incorporated the metaverse as part of their growth strategies. So I've lumped them sort of into these two categories. So on the left side, we've got entertainment. And to me, entertainment makes a ton of sense, because if you have characters, if you have athletes, if you have musicians, all of these can be recreated as avatars. And they might be in a movie where they have costumes, and it's like, oh, those, or they might have, athletes might have uniforms, right? Those can be recreated in these 3D virtual worlds and sold. On the right side, on the consumer product side, you have apparel, retail, beauty. These companies say, hey, we make you look good, express yourself in the real world. We can do the same in these virtual worlds, help your avatar look good. When it comes to like food, beverage, alcohol, finance, those types of companies, it's really more about positioning themselves as at the forefront of innovation within their industries, and also being able to connect with a younger audience that is engaging and hanging out on these types of platforms. So I'm going to do a deep dive into Roblox. Just curious if folks can let me know in the chat about whether they know Roblox, how much they know Roblox, how familiar they are with the platform. I go deep into Roblox partly because there's so many brands activating on this platform, and it really has the scale, and it really has a lot of the kind of components of what a future metaverse could have. So Roblox is certainly a scaled platform, 58.5 million daily active users as of last July, 23 billion engagement hours through the first half of this year, generating over 1 billion in revenue through the first half of this year off of really microtransactions, right? People purchasing items for their avatars, power-ups, extra lives, etc. And so if you haven't seen Roblox before, this is a look on the left at the homepage, the logged in homepage of Roblox. If you haven't checked out Roblox, I encourage you to sign up for an account and try it out. So the way I like to think about it, Roblox is not, one video game. It's very much an open platform where users, individuals, as well as full teams and companies can create gaming experiences that run the gamut from shooters to pet adoption games. Adopt Me is the #1 game on the platform with 30 billion visits. And so tons of different experiences, games on the platform, as well as the Avatar Shop. So Avatar Shop allows you to purchase, as you can see here, crowns, hats, you can buy hair, you can buy clothing, all these items to update your avatar. And I believe it's something like 1 in 5 Roblox users updates their avatar's appearance every single day. And Roblox itself as a platform has its own currency called Robux, which is what the transactions are carried out in. So there's, to me, 4 sort of key ways for a brand to be able to activate on Roblox. So #1 is purchasing display media. So you can buy billboards. You can also create, in this case, 3D characters. So this was an example, bottom left hand, of a movie, Bad Guys, where they created these 3D characters within this world, within different games. And these were interactive. So you could go up to these characters and it would ask you, hey, do you know about this new movie coming out? And you could answer yes or no. And so certainly they're able to measure that engagement. With the billboards as well, you're able to measure the impressions there. So display media, you also have avatar shop items. So you have companies such as here Forever 21 partnering up with Barbie to create virtual items for sale within the avatar shop. You also have game integration. So in this game, NASCAR took its IP, took its car, and then created this activation within this game called Jailbreak. Another example is Nickelodeon. So Nickelodeon has its own Nickverse, and then they brought in Carnival Cruises as a sponsor for a roller coaster ride within their experience. And then sort of on the right-hand side, this is, I would say, from left to right, it goes from like easy to and small investment to more difficult and bigger investment. So a full investment would look like creating a custom game experience on one of these platforms. Hello Kitty has done that very successfully. Wonder Woman did it for the last Wonder Woman movie. And so this is a look at the top 10 sort of all-time list of brands that have created full custom experiences within Roblox. At this point, Sonic the Hedgehog is over 500 million visits. To me, Sonic is kind of cheating because Sonic actually started off as a video game. So they're just taking that video game and then putting it onto a new platform. But Hello Kitty has done really well. Vans was an early leader in the space. This Alo Yoga example to me is super interesting. They've done a sort of meditation focused experience, and they've been able to reach over twice as many visits as Nike did. And Nike has so far. And I'm sure Nike spent a significant amount more than Alo Yoga did for its experience. And so this really speaks to how are you showing up on the platform in a way that resonates with the audience that's there? And how are you just making a great experience that's fun and people want to do? And Nike's game is full of sort of bells and whistles, but just doesn't quite resonate in the way that Alo Yoga's does. And so to me, when something that I get asked a lot are like, hey, what are the KPIs that we should be thinking about if we were to create an experience, get into the metaverse? So to me, I sort of lump them into sort of 3 buckets: marketing, product, and sales. And so this example of Hello Kitty really shows you, hey, you're able to measure reach, right? So they have had, at this point, this was a couple of months ago, 72 million visits, 8.6 million uniques. Basing my sort of assumptions around like $1 million spend, how much does that cost per visit? How much does that cost per unique? And then thinking about the game, the experience as a product. So like how many people made it through the onboarding steps? How many people have become heavy users? How many people have become power users? And then thinking about some estimates around revenue from the sale of virtual goods, virtual items within these games, and saying, wow, okay, hey, look, they're looking to make potentially like 1 million to 3 million over the course of the year through this game, which to me is very much an outlier. Not every brand is as powerful as Hello Kitty, but Hello Kitty has really just nailed it thanks to, its strong IP and it's really, good fit with the platform, with the audience, and it's just really excellent execution as well. And so just going a little bit more into how brands are activating, this is also another example that I wanted to share, which is iHeartRadio launched iHeartLand on the platform. And what's interesting here is instead of themselves deciding to spend $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 to build this activation, they went and they partnered with State Farm, they partnered with Intel to underwrite this experience. And so just really interesting ways that brands are starting to work together to enter these new spaces. And just to also a note that immersive advertising is coming to the Roblox platform in 2023. So it's going to be a combination of sort of interactive billboards as well as portals that can transport people from games with lots of traffic to your branded experience. And I think, as I talk to some of my clients, they talk about really this connection between the real world, or within the metaverse community, it's called the meat space, MEAT space. So between IRL, meat space, and the virtual world. And a really good example of tying these things together was the burrito maze from Chipotle last Halloween, where Chipotle gave away free burritos for trying out, their experience within Roblox. They really saw that campaign as a huge success. Their largest digital ordering day all time, most single app downloads ever, highest promo code redemptions of all time. So really, very much it's the early days, but really tying the physical world and digital world together, lots of opportunity there. And we're seeing this for sure kind of going the other way from the digital world to the physical world, where I don't know how often you go to the toy aisle of your Target or big box retailer. I try to go as often as I can, and I always see Roblox toys, lots of shelf space that they're occupying, which really just speaks to, like not only the reach of their audience, but how their user base really wants to engage in the real world as well. We've seen this with this game Piggy. So Piggy is like the 5th or 6th most popular game on the Roblox platform. And I was really impressed by how they were able to get their own distribution independent of Roblox into like Walmarts, into Targets on their own, which to me is really impressive. And Forever 21 has kind of also blended this physical and digital. They created this Forever 21 beanie on Roblox and have sold 1.5 million units. By my estimates, it's probably about just under $300,000 in revenue they generated from that. So moving on, I'll go through a couple more platforms real quickly. So Fortnite is 90% male audience, and certainly the brands that are activating on this platform really are interested in connecting with that demographic. Typically, you see a lot of the sort of brand integrations falling along the lines of the sort of entertainment, sports, IP that are, allowing, users to purchase, their avatars of these different characters. So, for example, when Thor: Love and Thunder came out over the summer, Marvel Disney released this pack of Thor items and Thor on Fortnite. So it serves really two purposes. Number one, it serves as marketing. Hey, Fortnite users, the new Thor movie's coming out, right? So awareness, marketing, but certainly also monetization. You can see that a bundle of items is roughly around $18. So driving, again, revenue through the sale of, virtual items, digital goods, which is, for many companies, a new revenue stream. And the NFL, for example, did some Fortnite activation, and that generated about $50 million in sales. So also, Fortnite also has a creative mode where brands are able to create full game experiences as well. So you have, again, iHeart in there, The Tonight Show, fashion, you have Armani, beauty, Jumpman, Timberland, Havaianas. So again, really interested brands that are interested in reaching this young demo. So just another call out to some other platforms. So to me, I really started with Roblox just because, again, it has like the most scale and it has so much already happening there in terms of brand activations. You have these other platforms. So Sandbox and Decentraland are both NFT, Web3, blockchain-based metaverse platforms. They've brought on certainly a fair amount of brands and celebrities and other IP onto their platforms. And also Horizon Worlds from Meta/Facebook, which is a VR platform. To me, though, the big challenge with these platforms now is they just don't have the scale. They don't have the active usage that really, justifies a significant investment, marketing spend. And so for me, it's really about like if you're activating on these platforms, it's often really about just like positioning yourself as innovative within your industry and getting out a press release. So who should jump in? I've got about like 5 minutes more and I'll wrap this up and open it up to Q&A. So who should jump in? To me, customers are really focused on following their passion. So 66% of customers who visit the metaverse go on to engage with a community around their favorite passion. So if you're in the business of fandoms and really building strong communities that care about what you're doing, then that's sort of a really good starting point. To me, entertainment, sports brands are just so well positioned to dominate the metaverse. So if we talk about movies and TV, video games, anime, comic books, sports, influencers, all of these businesses, they already have story worlds. They already can they can turn everything they're doing into avatars, into wearables, into accessories, into virtual locations. So for me, those have the most potential in terms of reach, in terms of revenue. And by being an early mover, to me, it really shows that you have an opportunity to really get outsized ROI. Again, kind of going back to that Nike example, if you're early in the space, you have that opportunity to really acquire customers at a lower cost, to be able to have more time to learn, capture scarce assets, and build a really loyal customer base. So I'm focused on the metaverse. I spent all my time working on this. I really am looking to work with brands that are really focused on fans, that are either in entertainment or sports, that typically own their own IP. The metaverse is global, so global brands with passionate fans trying to reach a youth audience. When I talk to brands, they tell me about how they're seeing the metaverse as a real opportunity, a way to reach new customers, to form new partnerships, increase revenue, and especially drive e-commerce and standing up this new e-commerce channel. And so the challenges they often face are really, a lot of interest in the space, but not sure what the strategy should be, where to go next, how to build out, their plan of attack to entering the space. And so my business, Metaverse Marcom, is really focused on consultancy, what's the plan, figuring out the strategy, as well as agency, helping enlist partners to do things such as game development, game integrations, advertising in games, etc. All right, so that's it. Thanks for listening. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, we'll open it up to questions from the